You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 5th meeting for the Michigan City Port Authority Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. Welcome to the Michigan City Port Authority Board of Directors meeting, May 5th. I call the meeting to order. I'm looking for approval or corrections to April 21st, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for April 21st, 2025.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the public? Anybody, anything? No? Good. Nice seeing you, Mr. Good. Nice to see you guys. All right, reports from the harbor master, Mr. Frey.
All right, last time we spoke, the Corps of Engineers was doing a dredge project out here. They have since finished that project and moved on. They pulled out about 50,000 cubic yards of sand from the outer harbor. Later the day that they left, the barge pulled in to continue with the NIPSCO project across the way. So you'll notice a barge sitting over there. So now they have two crews driving sheet piling, one that started from land at the northern end and is working their way south. And this barge started at the south side of the water intake and is going towards the DNR property. I found out they're using 60-foot sheet pile that they're driving in there, and they've run into some issues either with stone or clay or whatever, so they have a bigger pile hammer coming. But they're still planning to be finished driving piling by the end of June. Also, pretty much the very next day, the Corps of Engineers stone barges pulled in. So this is a continuation of adding stone to the outer breakwater that they last worked on, I want to say 2 years ago. At that time, they did the eastern half of the outer breakwater. They added armor stone to that. And now they're doing the remainder of it. So if you drive out that way, you'll see the stone barge with these, I'll call them boulders as opposed to stone because they're very large. And you'll see a green number spray painted on there. And that's the tonnage of that stone. So on average, those stones are 22 tons apiece. And they place them out there and they expect to be done within 2 weeks, weather permitting, and they've been working pretty steady. They'll also work 24 hours, weather permitting. So that's an ongoing project. I already mentioned that. The rest of the time, we've just been launching boats. They're starting to trickle in and taking care of work orders, mainly a lot of lowering of the finger piers because the water level right now, we're about 6 or 8 inches lower than we were at the same time last year. So that's what's going on here, unless anybody has any questions.
Does the Corps anticipate the season much lower in water, the water level?
No, they expect it to come back up some, but probably follow that same trend.
Thank you.
Maybe an update on the East End Government Pier Lighthouse?
Oh, yeah. So they're also planning on rebuilding the end of the East Pier, which is the main pier with the catwalk, but that'll be a 2026 project. They're gonna re-pour or reinforce that north end. Yeah, I don't know exactly what all the details are, but I know that's coming in 2026. They looked at doing that back in 2020 is when they were going to do the work, but at that time we were at a record high water level. The area they were going to work on was underwater, and their plan hadn't anticipated that, so they delayed it. So now they're going to circle back to that.
They're gonna put stone back in there too?
I believe so.
Close the gap.
All right, anything else for Mr. Frank? Mrs. Pilecki is out today. So we're going to go to Mr. Ferguson, budget and financial oversight and review and approval of bills to be paid.
A couple things. Let's take a look at the bill first. see on the cover page, the summary sheet, explains itself. Let's just go down the top, fire extinguishers, concrete work on the 500 dock, fuel, truck maintenance here and there. A lot of the sand and rock removal, I presume, is just the normal beach maintenance stuff. And they've been really moving a lot of stuff there last couple of weeks. Electric, as Tim was telling us earlier, that's primarily the $4,600 for checking all the dock electrics on the primarily in the 700 and 800 dock, but I imagine there'll be more to come. Coming down the rest, normal NIPSCO type bills, pardon me, and got a refund down there. And the front page totals about 65, pardon me, front page totals about 65,000, but the whole docket is 67,161.50. And with that, I'll make a motion to accept the bills as stated on this sheet. Unless there are any questions.
I'll second the motion.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Just one other quick note. At the last meeting, I presented with the staff, with Mary Ann and staff, presented last year's results, financial results. Just passed them out, didn't go over much. Pardon me. And I said if there's anybody had any questions, be available. If you had anything tonight or at a later time, just let me know or call into the office. Anybody have anything tonight? That's all I have.
All right. Moving on, Mr. Haynes, claims and insurance.
I have nothing to report.
Port operations, pretty much just standard operation, just getting ready for the summer, nothing on burning on fire, so we're in good shape there. Mr. Messina had special events this weekend, so.
Got a couple of things listed. Mr. Frame and I talked about dock committee meetings. Something we had maybe for quite a few years, but then the last maybe 3 years, the attendance started backing down. And for those who don't know, usually the first or second Saturday of the month, we would invite 1 or 2 people from each one of the docks to come around a round table and just listen to things that are happening in the marina, things we're proposed to do, and then answering any questions they may have. And they were supposed to take that information to the other people on the dock, not knowing whether they did or not, we don't know. But the attendance started dropping off a couple years ago, and we felt the interest was probably not there. It was not worth taking the time to lay everything out for. So we talked, no one's contacted him this year about it, nor myself, nor Mrs. Pilecki. So I think we'll just, unless we hear from somebody that thought they were very, very interesting and good to have, we just go another season without them. I'd given us some thought, and it's really going to be determined if we take over the pavilion. Something else we had years ago was a boater appreciation day. And that was one day, maybe in early August on a Saturday or Sunday. We would invite all of our boaters in the marina area just for a cookout, for burgers and hot dogs, beverages, and we'd always have it under the tent that was put up prior to the boat show. But since we haven't had that, we haven't had the boater appreciation. But now if we get the pavilion, that's a possibility. So I'll talk with Mrs. Pilecki and Mr. Frame and the president and see if we feel it's worth having again and report on that later. Did have fishing tournaments this weekend. Friday was what they call the Legends for the old timers that have been around for a lot of years, for those that are passed on, for those that have fished in the past. Just a one-day event, kind of a fun thing. And that went over pretty good. The lake was not real pretty to fish on that day either, but there were quite a few fish caught. I think a boat from St. Joe actually won that one. And then Saturday and Sunday was the Hoosier Cove Club Classic tournament. It was held Saturday, starting at 6 a.m. I think they had like 53 total boats in 2 divisions. And about noon, it got real rough. I think they had till 1:30 to come back in. A lot of boats came in early because it did get rough, strong east wind. Fishing was fairly good again. So we had the Saturday. Sunday was supposed to start at the same time. By 4 o'clock in the morning, announcement came on the radio that they had canceled the tournament. The wind had switched, I think, more to the northeast, and it was real sloppy out there. So really Saturday's results were the final. And it's a shame that it happens because the committee really puts in a lot of time and effort to put this whole thing together, not to be able to complete the event. So instead of 4 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, the award ceremony, they had it yesterday morning at 10 o'clock. So people that were here could attend that and then move on to the next tournament or head back home. All the fishermen that stayed here did appreciate the donation that was given by the Port Authority to the Coho Club. Appreciated the gas discount that we gave them all, and also the rates on the rental for the slips overnight. So that was appreciated, and I said I would pass it along to the rest of the board. That's all I have written down, unless somebody has questions, comments.
Do you have another fishing tournament coming up, or did you have them all?
There's some other events coming up, but no, that's just,
Okay, I thought there were kind of 2 within about 3 or 4 weeks of each other.
yeah, this was the last of them. But there are some other events that Coho Club puts on, and also the Charter Boat Association puts a handicap boat ride event on.
Yeah.
Is that later in the summer? That's later on, almost into August, yes. Anybody else?
All right,
That's
moving
all.
on. Mr. Maynard, Master Planning Special Project and Park Liaison.
Well, I couldn't make it to the park board meeting, so I have nothing to report on that. We do have a special project going on, that's with the Michigan City Yacht Club, and I'm not gonna go into any discussion on that until we get to our attorney. Our attorney will cover what's going on with that, so that's all I have.
All right. Mr. Cypress, Advertising and Public Relations.
Just a continuation of discussion here on the signs. I've got a proposal for everybody to review on signage along the docks on the wall here between the Coast Guard Station and the sailing school. So we've basically got a couple of different areas where various signs could be discussed and proposed. And so between the Coast Guard Station and the corner where the sailing school is, that area is the area that we're discussing monitoring that with the signage. And so we've got the potential for maybe 6, 8 different signs, and I'm suggesting like a 12 by 18 in 2 different formats. We could choose, we could talk about the wording, we can discuss it, but it could be a couple of different ways, right? Like this one here says fishing permitted when boats are not moored. So that's more so like, hey, we're good with the fishing, or no fishing when boats are moored. Just depends on how you want to word it. It's the same thing at the end of the day, right? So I'd like to discuss that, and then at the end, down by the corner where the sailing school is, there's a couple of uprights that we've had large signs on in the past, right? And I think on one side, it would be nice for the boat traffic to have a large sign that, and there was one there prior to, that would read something like, contact the Michigan City Port Authority for overnight mooring, provide the number, that sort of thing, right? So if somebody pulls in during the daytime, for example, they could call this phone number, get with Mary Ann, make arrangements to stay the night, weekend, whatever they want to do, right? On the other side of those uprights, where we could put another large sign, this would be more of a descriptive sign to anglers mostly, right? So that when they walk up and they're walking along through there and they're fishing, it would say something like this: "Welcome to Washington Park Marina. This area is designated for boat mooring. Fishing is permitted when boats are not present. If a boat arrives to tie up, the fishermen are required to either move or vacate the area. Thank you, MCPA." So I'm open to suggestion on wording, formatting, whatever you'd like to do, but I'd just like to keep the ball rolling forward on this project and see what we can do. Any comments, questions?
I have a couple things, and I think I texted you about
Yeah.
it too. Let's go fishing when boats are moored. This is for the fishermen. They're not boaters, and I'm not sure they know what the terminology of moored is.
Okay, so my only concern with that is mooring is a very nautical term, right? So, and I understand your concern about them maybe not understanding what it is. I don't know what we want to say. So, when boats are parked, personally, I don't really like that, just from the perspective of we are a nautical organization. So I was looking for synonyms to the word moored, and I really didn't come up with anything unless anybody else has a suggestion that really says that same kind of thing in a different way. So my personal opinion is I think more people probably understand what moored is than we think, but at the end of the day, they've got their phone, they can look up moored. Just some suggestions. Sure.
The other thing I had, contact MCPA. Everybody knows what MCPA is, I don't know, overnight, morning, and the number. I said maybe put down the hours of operation also.
Could do that too.
Yep.
If you run this just in your committee, and was the staff invited to take a look at this?
Yeah, I brought them all into Tim and Marianne before presenting the meeting, and then I emailed Socrates and Dan prior to the meeting.
I recognize this is not an early stage, but it's not a final stage.
Mhm.
You have a recommendation.
My recommendation is that we all kind of make suggestions on how we want this wording to end up being, and then, we make a motion to do these.
Follow up. I know we talked about where this area extends to and from, and essentially it's from like the Coast Guard station all the way around, essentially to the bridge,
Well,
kind of.
but not so much, just from the standpoint of well, there's a couple things, right? So the tour boat's over there anyway, so it occupies a lot of that space as it is, and it's kind of a non-issue from that standpoint. However, the other part of this with the mooring and the paying for overnight usage and all that is we, as a facility, provide power and water from the Coast Guard station to the corner, but not to the bridge.
Okay.
We don't have power and water over there.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So essentially, without confirming it, you're talking about Coast Guard station to the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And how, if we went with a couple of these sites, are you recommending how many yet? I know we had a discussion on
On the small ones that would be posted every so often between this, from one end to the other, maybe somewhere between 6 to 8 signs. And then on the large sign at the end where the 2 vertical uprights are, really just the one, and then on the other side, another one facing the boat traffic. There is another section where there's a power box midway down where there actually is an existing sign that faces the water, and that one just kind of really needs just refreshed, right? So it's just old and faded out. So maybe a new one there, but that would just be facing the water side.
Okay. Yeah, I like this. I like the idea of having something there. So we'll just kind of see what we end up recommending and what the board votes on. I have a favorite already, but it's a little early to talk about that. Thank you.
I would like to know if anybody else has a comment on the word moored.
Not me.
Yes. Possibly in parentheses underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
tied off,
Okay,
Present?
present, yeah.
or present, when boats are present.
What did Joe have, or is that?
Joe, just a couple, yeah, grammatical, yeah, just moving a couple words around and stuff, so.
Good. Present is good. It's just one word.
Although we do want to make clear that it's when they're tied up there. It's not they're present, it's they're moving along.
Right. Yep.
Stationary.
Yeah.
Whatever sounds the best.
Tied off.
Anchored,
sounds-
moored.
Yeah, tied off.
Well, you gotta drop an anchor in that.
They're dropping it down.
No.
Sam, you're
We're not here.
really learning stuff.
Good work, thank you.
Sure.
Not medically. Anything else, Mr. Cypress?
That's it.
So hopefully we can have this figured out by next meeting. All right, so we're to the attorney report. Mr. Zachman.
Thank you. Based on the sense of the board at the executive session that we had last Friday, I believe, or Friday before, I think a motion would be in order, and I could state the motion, and then perhaps one of the board members could just adopt the motion. But I believe the motion would be something along the lines of the board rejects the Michigan City Yacht Club's counter proposals to the proposed lease, which were communicated to the board via an April 17, 2025 letter from the Yacht Club's attorney. The board agrees to extend the date by which a new lease must be negotiated with the Michigan City Yacht Club by 7 days. I believe May 4th was the end, so May 11th, unless that's a Sunday, and if it is, then we would probably go over till the next Monday, yeah, May 12th. And that the board intends to draw up a new Exhibit A, which depicts the premises, and the premises will exclude not only the pavilion itself, but the portions to the left and to the right, and I don't know if we determined how far north of the pavilion we wanted to go. I think some numbers out there were 3 to 6 feet north of the pavilion, north of the northern part of the pavilion would also be excluded from the premises. So whatever the board's desire is to how far north of the pavilion we go to exclude from the premises, that would be the motion.
Comment? Just a comment. I know you're trying to get a motion on the floor, but just a comment before.
Sure.
Have you had any direct conversation back and forth since our last meeting?
I did. I spoke with the Yacht
Is it
Club's
appropriate
attorney.
to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I spoke to the Yacht Club's attorney. I conveyed to him the sense that I had based on the discussions that the board had at the executive session. I shared with him that, well, he shared with me that his clients, the Yacht Club, thought that a very long and I guess what he put it was not prosperous, but cooperative relationship seems to be on the downside. That it's the relationship that the Port Authority has with the Yacht Club is going in the wrong direction. And I shared with him that I did not see that, at least from discussions I've had and seen with the board, that its rejection of the proposal, for example, that the Yacht Club could lease 8 one-day sessions at $150 a day, was rejected not because the Port Authority isn't going to allow the Yacht Club to use the pavilion. It's just that at this point, it wants to get the lease in place, and then, in all likelihood, will appoint a committee to put together a license agreement, to make decisions as to the parameters which will govern licensing of the pavilion. For example, the types of events that the Port Authority will allow to be hosted there, insurance requirements, things of that nature, and that it did not want to put into the lease basically a license agreement when it hasn't even determined yet how much it thinks its daily rate is going to be. They just threw out $150. We don't know. The committee may come up with a different daily rate. It may be higher, maybe lower, maybe the same. But I thought that the Port Authority would certainly consider any requests from the yacht club for, to use the pavilion. It's not at the point yet where it's of the mind to start agreeing to days and rates and things of that nature. I also shared with him that the Port Authority has, or will agree to extend the deadline by which the negotiations have to be concluded by 7 days. And that was a show of good faith in the sense that the Coho, the Hoosier, what is it, the Coho Club?
Hoosier Coho Club.
Yeah, the Hoosier Coho Club had its tournament, and that generated $2,500 for the yacht club. Had the Port Authority been acting in bad faith, it could have said, well, at 12:01 p.m. on May 4th, your lease terminated. And we didn't. We said we'll extend for 7 days, and that allowed the yacht club to keep the full $2,500 that it earned from hosting the Coho Club. So he said he felt a lot better based on the conversation, that he would take this information back to his client, and that he would await action by the board.
Another comment concerning the motion that you kind of made. To a follow-up that, should we officially make that motion, second it, comments, and pass it? Who's going to word that thing?
I can word it.
All right. I mean, I'm
I think I have it down good enough. And it's in a email that he had sent to all the board members.
All right.
What he just explained to me.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the May 4th deadline by 7 days, which allows Michigan City Yacht Club to keep the full $2,500 the Hoosier Coho Club is paying for the pavilion, when Michigan City Port Authority could have taken the position that the lease assignment to Michigan City's termination at 12:04 a.m. On April the 4th. We extended it 7 days to May the 12th, and so the Michigan City was entitled to actually, if we hadn't extended, Michigan City was entitled to 1/3 of the $2,500. By extending that, that will give them the full amount of $2,500. Now, I think that's enough. I don't know if that's enough.
Well,
We need to reject it.
Yeah, if I could just rephrase briefly, the board rejects the counter proposals set forth in the Yacht Club's attorney's letter dated April 17th, 2025. It extends the deadline by which a new lease must be negotiated until May 12th, 2025. And the board will redraw the map of the premises to exclude the pavilion, the areas to the east and the west of the pavilion, and a portion north of the northern part of the pavilion of 3 or 6 feet, whatever the board desires.
I guess I could only amend my motion to what he just said.
Which gets me back to my comment.
Yeah, adopt the motion as stated by the board.
Be careful how we want to properly word this for all concerned, but we need to do it right away.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So the issue on the table is how far north of the northern part of the pavilion are we going to exclude?
We were looking into having that drawn, right? I mean,
Yes, so John Doyle and Associates does not exist anymore. We do have a drawing, it does have a scale in the corner. With a ruler, we can figure out.
Okay.
Mr. Ferguson and I were walking around there the other day. Anywhere from 2 to 5 feet is sufficient. I would call it 3, 2.5 to 3. Gives you enough of a boundary without getting into the road there.
I prefer to make it 3, get as much of in as we can.
Then amending the proposed motion to be 3 feet north of the northern part of the pavilion.
I make that motion.
That's fine. Not really, but yes. I'll second that motion. Ready for comment, sir?
Sure.
Who's gonna put this together so we make sure it's gonna be okay? Again, I go back to my original comment. There's a lot of words we use that I'm not sure enough of us really caught every word, and we just, I think from your standpoint, Joe, we need to make sure that how it's put together is.
Well, what I'll do is I will put together either an email or a letter to the yacht club's attorney, and that will state essentially what the board had passed in the form of a motion. If you want me to put together something for the record, I could do that.
Yeah.
Just
Add it to the minutes.
Yeah, and for the minutes, I could certainly do that.
I just try to be cautious here, that's all. I support everything we're talking about. Thank you.
Any other comments? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll draft the text of the motion for the minutes, and then I'll send over a letter to Yacht Club's attorney. And that's all I have.
Any other comments from the public? Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming out. Anybody else have anything else?
Do you and Bruce have just a second after the meeting? Different subject.
Our May, 19th meeting, is it possible that we could meet at 4:45 over at the pavilion? Because I'm sure there's people here in our board that don't know about the pavilion, where you're talking the 2 or 3 feet north and what's in that pavilion.
We're not over that 4:45, everybody else wants to. Depends.
Why don't you go over and look?
Either that or after the meeting is.
Go today afterwards if everyone wants to.
Or the 19th, one of
I'm
them.
well aware, I've been over there multiple times.
Yeah, I have too, but I'm not sure.
If anybody else wants to, go ahead.
Well, we all know where it is, so everybody's been there, I
What
think.
do we, if we do it now, later, when?
What's that?
Cool.
We can either do it before the meeting or after, and as soon as we dismiss, we can just take a walk over to everybody and
I
take a
can't,
look at what we're talking
an
about.
appointment.
Tonight? Okay.
Tonight?
Yeah, just meet 4:45 over there.
Okay, next time, 4:45.
4:45?
Yep. So,
Can you put a reminder out, like, thank you,
It's a waste of time.
thanks, Tim.
yeah, anything, any other thing come to mind?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
There we go.